Okay. All right, so the Oz report for Saturday, June 19th. All right, these are the items that we're going to talk about today. I've been absent for a while, so good to be back on the Oz report. Going to try to do this weekly again. We'll try to cover all of these in 10 minutes. Probably going to be a little bit longer today because we're also using my new tool to analyze some of these. Let's start with Abyssal Materials, shall we? Abyssal Materials are crystalline isogen and 0 point condensate, and as I mentioned on my stream earlier, if you look at them in the context of my new trade tool, you can see that they are vastly undersupplied, and they're also very, very cheap right now. The reasons that they are so cheap is because we've seen some industry changes that are making these ships very, very expensive, and there's not a lot of them being produced, at least compared to before. Also, we're seeing a lot more Abyssal Materials drop, so that in combination is based on the activity that people are doing, and so we are seeing a very, very oversupplied and under-demanded market. And so that is why I'm buying a lot of these right now. It's the same for both of them, by the way. It's 0 point condensate. You can see here it's trading way below, like way below where it used to be, and it's kind of stabilized. That's why I feel like right now is a good time to jump in. Also, crystalline isogen, it's been stabilized for a while, and there's a slight uptick going on. These two are big markets. Right. So if you look at their overall markets, where are they? They are right there. That's just the two of them. They combine to trade about 20 billion a day. So this is a nice combination of an item that you can invest a lot in. You can hold it in the long term if you think it's going to rise, and it's very liquid, so you can also get rid of it again. Right. If you want to double down on this bet, you can also look at derivatives of these products, right? And some derivatives I want to cover today. So let's start with entropic radiation sink, for example. Uses Abyssal Materials, and that's why they have gotten cheaper. So they've also dropped in price a lot. They have dropped way far down and have recently turned around, so this might be a good time to invest in there. Heavy and light entropic disintegrator 2s. Make sure you look at the 2s and not the 1s. The 1s are mostly a component for the 2s and are not traded much on their own, so the 2s are much more interesting with a bigger market. And they have also dropped a lot and now stabilized, and so if you follow the belief that I do, that Abyssal Materials are currently undervalued, then you can double down with investing in some of these. Same with the supratidal entropic disintegrators. These are just three large markets that are derivative products of Abyssal Materials. You can also look at the Velis ones. The Velis ones are the faction version of the entropic disintegrators for the Triglavian weapons, and those are also very large markets that have essentially followed the same path, and pick the ones that you want. If you look at my new tool, for example, we can go in here and look at let's see. Of course, it's not working when you want it to. You can look at Abyssal Materials right here. And you can see that the hard numbers, what they say is that crystalline isogen is trading at 73% of yearly average, and 0 point condensate at 65, so even cheaper. In terms of volume, crystalline isogen is actually up, and that's because it's used in more blueprints now. 0 point condensate, it's in terms of volume, it's down below the average value, but both of them are only showing the sell orders that are available right now are only covering 2 trade days, which is very, very low compared to other item categories. So could be time to jump in. This is where I put them. This is actually the list of items from this Oz report, and you can see the category sizes. So if we're talking about something like entropic radiation sinks, for example, we're talking currently about a 2 billion a day market, so nicely sized. But heavy entropic disintegrators, that's already 4 billion, right? Compared to usual of 8 billion in the year in volume. And if you look at the Velis super tidal, we're talking about a 2 billion market. So all of these add up. And so if you think that you want to invest in a market but it's too small, then look at derivatives of those products, like things that are built with them, and you can double down your bet and make sure you also and that way you also make sure you distribute your risk a little bit, because in the end what's going to happen is some of these are going to spike also independently of the raw material, because they will appear in a hot fit, for example, an alliance fit, or possibly an event will happen and some of these will be used in special proving grounds or some other events, right? Okay, that's the abyssal material topic. Next, let's talk accelerators. This is really interesting, right? Because these master at arms cerebral accelerators and the expert ones, they are used to speed up training of skills. Right? They will increase your attributes and make you train skills faster. That on its own is not exciting, except typically over the last few months, we always had event cerebral accelerators in the game, right? That you could use. Right now, that is not the case. So if you actually look at I have an analysis for these, right? And on my stream, if you follow my stream, you've seen this before. I look at the ISK efficiency for each of these accelerators. So what you have to do is you have to compare it to skill injectors, right? Because in the end, they do the same thing. The skill injector gives you skill immediately, and the cerebral accelerator gives it to you indirectly, delayed over time, because it increases your attributes. Nevertheless, you can compare their value, because you can look at how much is an ISK, how much ISK is an SP, right? And so you can look at large skill injectors, for example, for a character between 5 and 50 million SP. It will cost you 1,453 ISK per SP if you're buying it through a sell order. If you look at the Master at Arms cerebral accelerator, it'll cost you 2,500. So you might ask yourself, why would anybody buy those cerebral accelerators if they are slower and more expensive? And the answer is this: characters over 80 million SP, they get much fewer SP from the large skill injector, and so that's, for them, it's very expensive. So they jump on these Master at Arms cerebral accelerators. And in any time in the game where you don't have any event cerebral accelerators that are active right now in the game, what happens is, what you see back here is that the Master at Arms cerebral accelerators, they spiked in price quite significantly. So they went from 90 million to like 110 million. That's really nice to see. I don't know if that's going to hold, because CCP is releasing a lot of events lately, and they're certainly going to be bringing back some other cerebral accelerators. Let's look at minerals. So in terms of minerals, I wanted to look at Mexilon, Morphite, and then Thulium as a Moongu. Let's start with Mexilon. The reason I want to look at Mexilon is this. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. The reason is this. So if we look at minerals, Mexilon right now is trading very low. It's only trading 60% of the yearly average. It's not oversupplied in the market, and the volume is quite low as well. So if you compare it to other minerals, the only ones trading below value are tritanium, quite significantly, and Zyadrine, right? But Zyadrine actually came from a very high base before. Mexilon I think is interesting because it's not oversupplied and it's quite cheap right now. So if you are looking to invest in minerals, then Mexilon could be it. However, do consider that we are in a scarcity phase still, and you know, there could be unexpected announcements from CCP any day, and that could crash any of these markets. So mineral markets are risky right now, but if you're looking for one that is you know, that is a safer bet, then Mexilon is your friend. About 20 billion traded a day, so this is a very large market. The opposite is Morphite. So if you look at Morphite, Morphite is trading at 164% compared to the yearly average. So very, very much overpriced, but also very much under supplied. So only 1.6 trade days in sell orders in the market. And that means if you look at Morphite, you know, it has spiked, but there's no indication of that rally stopping, right? So it's very possible that it will get more and more expensive because there's just not enough supply in the market. And the reason I'm saying that also is because I don't think there's if traders had stockpiles out there, they would have most of them, they would have already liquidated them, because if you're still holding large Morphite stockpiles, then you probably are just doing that because you have way more IS than you need, or because trading isn't your main business and industry is. So I would be very wary of the Morphite market, but on the other hand, I don't see this rally ending if we don't get more supply coming in. There's just not enough in the universe. Thulium out of the Moongu. So let's do the same for Moongu. Out of Moongu. You can see Moongu, in terms of price, they're all trading over yearly average, right? But if you look at Thulium, where do we have Thulium? Right here. Thulium is actually trading at 94%, so it's trading under value. And yes, it is oversupplied, very much oversupplied. But as I've said in previous streams, I think the Thulium market is a great opportunity, because once scarcity phase ends, and yes, it's probably not going to be an abrupt end, but we are going to see other things changing in EVE as you know, as the scarcity phase gets phased out. I think one of the main things that's going to happen is that people are going to be doing less moon mining, and Thulium could be one of them that is profiting from it the most. Having said that, you could have already made quite a bit of money on the Thulium side lately. If you look at these. If you look at these, we've seen pretty steady bounces between like 25 and 30 million over the last few months. Right now you can buy it for 24.4, and that is a very, very low price for Thulium. So if you look at even technically speaking, on this bottom, it's this line down here, and so you know, yes, it's oversupplied, but I think it's a good investment still. PI, enriched uranium, just want to mention it because it's spiking hard. Enriched uranium is at 10,000 if you're holding it. If you didn't notice, then right now is the time to sell. It's you know, if we look at it, I can actually, let's see, I could show you guys in Atom for Eve. If we look at enriched uranium enriched uranium in Atom for Eve, you can see that availability has been less and less. So you know, there's just less in the market, and overall, what we're seeing is PI goods being used for much more than it used to be, right? And because of the industry changes, it's used in, for example, in battleships and faction ships now. So with that, that will cause some peripheral pressure on other PI markets, because people are going to stop building certain items and switch their production to items that are now being used in the new blueprints, and that can mean that all of the other PI items are also going to rise. Okay, let me speed up here to make sure we get through this auto report in some sort of time here. Recursive computing module, you know, lately it's been spiking a lot. I've been making some nice profit on these. These are low again. Whenever these come down to like 1 million or so, I buy them again, as you can see here. So, you know, recursive computing module. Synthetic synapses, like these, because there's not a lot left in the market, and they are, you can buy them around 60, what, 60 right now? 60 is a fantastic price on synthetic synapses. I would buy these any day. So go check those out. If we look at salvage parts, contaminated Lawrence fluid, this is absolutely insane, right? This is what I mentioned earlier. Salvage goods in the market, they are undersupplied. There's always too few salvage goods in the market, and what that means, so only about 1 to 2 trade days in sell orders out there, at least of the big items. And what that means is they are prone to spike a lot, and the result of that is this. So if you look at my trades in contaminated Lawrence fluid, you can see that, you know, within the same, what is this, the same week, you can see me buying at 103 and you can see me selling at like 140, right? Mr. Mayhem seems to be the dude, but also Sir Smash-A-Lot, Leaknut. These are all the same names all the time, right? That you see buying up all of the salvage goods. And back here, even, you know, buying 6 billion for 109. I think that I even did this on stream 2 weeks ago. So, you know, buying 109 or 9 billion at 109, and this week selling a whole bunch of them at 130, 140, even 170, you know, is pretty insane. So salvage goods are a fantastic trade item. Love them. Contaminated nanite compound are very similar. Elite Dronei have started to climb, right, from, you know, this happens every few weeks, but maybe just maybe this time it's for real. It's held at 1.48 pretty well. So this might be the turnaround. So I'm liking where this is going, because I'm very long on Elite Dronei. Enhanced word console, they've just dropped significantly again and stabilized. So I think at 3 million these are a very, very good investment. So I'm liking those. Large skill injectors, I said that earlier. These are very, very cheap right now, because the CCP is giving away too many skill points for free, and also less demand because there's fewer people playing right now, because, you know, because summer, because boring, because changes, whatever. But the combination of expensive plex and cheap large skill injectors means skill farming is unprofitable right now, and that will, you know, only make it worse in the long run, because skill farms typically don't just switch off; they keep producing even though it's unprofitable. Last few items here, medium core defense field extenders 1 and 2. These are big markets. These are 20 billion markets, right? And again, these, because they're made from salvage goods, and because those input materials are cheap right now, they are cheap. They're very cheap. They're nearing their bottom for the year, or even passing it. And so I think it's not very risky to buy them because they can't drop all that much further. If you look at the 2s, they actually often spike with events that these are useful for. So if you have cruiser sized proving grounds or something, then these tend to spike. So I'm actually liking that market. Check it out. The Praxis It was spiking because other battleships are so expensive, right? And the Praxis is independent of production prices because the Praxis doesn't get produced, it just gets given away. And so what this means is the Praxis will rise because by association, by being a battleship, by being a cheap battleship. And also we just had the Capsuleer event, so it only dropped back down to here. And currently you can still buy them at 148, which is still a fantastic price. So I think it's still a good investment. Republic Fleet Large Shield Extenders. This is also a very big market. Just make sure right now they went back up to the top. Make sure you sell right now. If you're holding these, if you've been following my advice and holding these, make sure you sell them right now because they're not going to rise forever. Boom, all right. Thanks for sticking. It was different for me today because I'm using a new tool. I got to get used to it. I got to get my monitor set up better. So hopefully in the coming weeks, that tool is going to help me more, doing more efficient odds reports. But nevertheless, hope you liked it. We're going to upload it to YouTube. We're going to put it on the podcast feed. And then we're going to go return to regular stream now. Thank you all for watching.